get started. So
All
good
right.
afternoon and thank you for joining in. I hope you're all safe and well. So just a few things before we begin. We would like to keep this session as interactive as possible, and we invite you to post your questions in the Q&A box and at the bottom at any time, and we will try to address them as we go or at the end of the session. We are also recording this webinar, and we will be sending you a copy by email by tomorrow. I am Madhumita, and we have with us Darren Short, the growth lead at Tenantcube, and also a property manager in the Niagara region. We are here to discuss how technology is affecting all business verticals and changing them for the better, and how landlords can adopt digital methods to simplify and transform their business by taking advantage of all the development in property management. It is a fact that the world is moving forward towards a even more digital future. Even those who mistrust advanced technology take advantage of the ease it provides, like paying your utility bills online, ordering in food on a lazy day, or even easily booking your holiday. But as customers turn younger and more tech savvy, all businesses, small and big, have turned to digital means of providing their service and also to have a much better reach. And the rental market is no different. Although it has been one of the most traditional businesses, changes are inevitable in every business. And we see that in a number of landlords advertising their property online, taking to social media to interact with tenants and the other landlords as well. And more recently, even the landlord-tenant board is conducting their hearings online. In today's webinar, Darren will talk to us about how technological advancement helps businesses and how landlords can start incorporating the resources available into property management. Over to you, Darren.
Awesome. Thank you, Madhu. And yeah, thank you everybody for joining us today. I had a quick peek at the registrations before we got started here, and I see a couple of repeat registrations from our last couple webinars. So I want to thank you guys for coming out and checking out our material. And, you know, I hope we're putting out some value for everybody. But yeah, I want to just, before we get started, you know, just quickly ask you, Madhu, how are you doing?
All good here, Darren. How's everything for you?
Good. I mean, me, like a lot of other people in my area and some other areas, there's quite a bit of snow on the ground right now.
Quite snowed in, yes.
We've been pretty lucky this year. There hasn't been too much, but yeah, I just want to again thank everybody for joining us today. And today what I'm going to go over and what we're going to cover is creating a digital experience in 2021, a digital rental experience. So there's a number of reasons why we would want to do this. I think, you know, things were already moving in that direction, but for a number of reasons, you know, it's only that much more important to digitally lead your rental experience and to take a digital first approach. So today we're going to cover some ways you can go about it, why it's important, and how you can get started with taking that digital first approach. So you'll see here, I'm going to share my screen here with everybody. I hope everybody can see my screen okay. And yeah, one of the reasons why I wanted to start with the need to go digital is because so many industries are moving in that direction, and many have already been digitally led for quite some time, and it's only going to continue to grow and move that way. So I think it's very important that we as property managers really embrace it, because, you know, there's countless examples of organizations who have not embraced the digital wave and got left by the wayside. You know, there's a number of blockbusters and taxi services and different sorts of organizations and industries that didn't adapt, and it ended up catching a lot of people off guard and destroying a lot of businesses. So what we can do to help protect ourselves against the digital wave is embrace it and work with it. So I think this is important for a couple of reasons. And, you know, I hear it all the time, you know, working in property management myself and working with property management every day, you know, I hear everything from people who like, oh man, you know, I absolutely love technology. I use it for everything, to, hey, I've been working in one way for 30 years and it's been working fine. Why do I need to change? And then, of course, everywhere in between, some people with old technology, mixed bags of technology. And what we want to talk about today is how we can just really take that digital first approach, regardless of, what our background is, regardless of, what we're used to, because I think it is the way moving forward. And given some of the circumstances over the last couple of years, I think that trend has only been pushed forward and will continue to be pushing forward. So you'll see here, I've actually got a statistic that is, something that has just happened over the last few years, where over 50% of the population has now moved into that millennial or Gen Z demographic. So basically what this means is more than half of people are now under 37, depending on what you want to classify as a millennial. But yeah, they're the largest, not only population block, but they're also one of the largest groups of renters, and will only continue to become more and more predominant as renters moving forward. And they are brought up in a completely different environment, and they interact with the world in different ways. And they've been accustomed to what we can call the experience or the convenience economy. And this has been pioneered, by some of the largest organizations around now. So you look at things like the Ubers of the world and the Airbnbs and the Amazons. And what's made those organizations successful is that they provide an experience. Of course, there's, a service element to it, but the experience is just so easy and so flawless. And what I think is going to come to property management over the next number of years, and has already started to come, is a lot of those concepts and ideas that have been pioneered by the Amazons and the Ubers and the Airbnbs and all these different organizations, is that experience first, digitally led, A to B sort of deal. And there's a couple of things that I think we can easily identify about these types of services, which is pretty commonplace, and are a couple of the key takeaways that we should know and that we should be aware of to help provide a digitally led experience. Because there's a couple of things to consider. First and foremost is that there's two sides to the coin. Not only is there like the management side, or the property manager or landlord or whoever it may be, there's also the tenant side. And in today's environment, especially in a world of high vacancies and post-COVID, I think providing a better experience to help attract and keep the best tenants is going to be very advantageous to the rental situation. And I think a number of people are finding out, especially in some areas where, south of the border, for example, where you don't have the CERB, that, not having those good relationships or those, A quality tenants can sometimes hurt the situation when things get tough. And anyways, the two things that I think we can pull in common is that they're incredibly simple and secure for the operators. Right. So for example, like you probably had a number of mom and pop restaurants and shops that prior to the pandemic, you couldn't have bothered them to get on board with like Skip the Dishes or Uber Eats or DoorDash, or any of these tools that now are helping to literally save and keep their businesses afloat. And the good thing about it is that, you don't need any special skills, or you don't need any sort of special tools to actually go ahead and integrate with these organizations. So on the operator side of things, it provides them that avenue to better connect with people, but also does so in a very easy way. And prior to COVID, a lot of these operations, they simply just wouldn't have gone that route. But now, out of necessity and a need for change and a need for that additional way to generate revenue, they've now opened their eyes to a completely new channel or avenue for getting exposure for their business, to actually selling, and additional ways in which they can add some extra revenue to their business. Now, on the flip side of it, these services, not only are they very easy and secure on the operator side, on the end user, which in this case, or the property management case, is going to be the tenant side. So a lot of times, in the past, property managers had a number of different ways to do a number of different things. Everybody had their own processes, but the technologies are starting to come into place that will allow you, literally from the moment of inquiry, from the time somebody sees your business, to provide a digitally led experience. And this is from the time a property becomes vacant right up through the time they vacate, and every step in between. There's a way to do it digitally, which will help improve accuracy, help reduce manual work, and really just provide more wow moments, so to say, for your customer. And then there is the fact that I don't think this is limited to the younger generations. Like you'll see here, one thing I hear from property managers all the time is, whoa, 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 millennials, Gen Z, I don't work with just young kids. And this is true. But I mean, one thing we have to remember is that, a millennial again, depending on how you cut off, where that point is, but usually that's like 37 or younger. So, I mean, there a ton of those renters are in that age group. But that being said, I think the other generations that are renting as well, they're not as, resistant to technology as you may think. Just to put it an example, I got my grandmother on Facebook recently, and it's so easy to use, and it's so, it's so simple for anybody to get started on it. After I set her up her account, showed her how to add a friend and, post a comment, within a couple of days, she's using the chat functions, she's sharing items, she's commenting, she's joining groups. And this is because of the ease of the use of technology. And when you make something that is incredibly convenient, you'll get that user adoption. So put it into example for something like payments. When you go with that digitally led payment option where they can just sync up their bank account and not think about it, not only is it, a lower probability of not getting paid than if you're doing checks or something, which, you may have a very high rate of completed payments, but it's just that much more simple. You don't have to worry about going to pick it up, having it sent. And, this will kind of lead me to the next spot, which is the COVID effect. So COVID's completely changed up how a lot of these interactions have taken place. And I don't think that we're ever going to go back to what was normal before. So some of the impacts that I think we'll see from the COVID effect, and before I get into COVID, I know everybody's real tired of hearing about it, so I do apologize. But I think it needs to be talked about because it's, kind of made a lot of property managers and landlords realize on a number of levels why they need to go digital. For example, a lot of situations where non-payment started to happen as a result of job loss and financial instability that some people faced due to some of the effects of COVID and the economic situation that came along with it. Well, they're just saying, okay, hey, I would actually rather take, a couple dollar hit on the rent or whatever I need to take to get that rent secured, as opposed to having the risk of it not being paid. And with respect to COVID, I think the other thing that's important to take away from the situation is that even though you can have years and years and years of no issues, something can come along and just radically change things up. And with COVID, it, put everything at distance. So the things that you could traditionally do, you could go in, just do your maintenance inspection, just, give a quick call. Hey, can I come by and do the inspection? Or, hey, I need to get some work done. Can we come in? A lot of that's changed. And there's a lot of other precautions and things that need to be addressed and thought about because of COVID. And I think what it goes to show is that any number of things can happen. Low probability items that can be high risk or high damage, or high cost to your operations, even though they are that low probability, like a global pandemic. I think this has shown that they do happen, and I think taking a digital first approach can help kind of hedge against that, and really make sure that all the systems and protocols are in place for you to do your best work and for you to reduce costs and improve accuracy and just mitigate risk in general. So some of the things that I think you're going to see moving forward are just, higher expectations of a safe environment. So you as a property manager, if you're having maintenance people come in, you're connecting them with tenants, I think there is going to be a higher expectation that you're playing more of that intermediary where everybody is going to remain safe. And that's going to be as a result of the work that you are doing. You'll also have the lingering effects on individuals. So people are going to change the way that they act. For lack of a better term, like you may see more people that have more like germophobic tendencies, where before they may have been those type of people who were very happy to have you come by, grab the check, or have you come in and have a coffee, or you're getting some maintenance work done. That may change for certain people, and certain people may just want you to respect their space, to do things at a distance, or be able to organize things digitally. Like, let's say they're moving and they're on their way out, they may not want to be there where traditionally a lot of times they wanted to be there when the walkthroughs were taking place. So I think individuals are just going to be interacting in a number of different ways. They may have varying levels of issues post-COVID on financial levels, emotional levels, like whatever it may be. I think the effects of the tenant landlord or tenant property manager relationship, they're going to be sticking around for a while, and you're going to just see a number of different situations and a number of different ways people are handling some of the different stresses and some of the different difficulties and obstacles that come as a result of this. And again, I think this all kind of just falls back to, if you have that really strong presence digitally and you're able to quarterback everything from a distance, again, it's going to help you more smoothly operate the different avenues of your business. And then, with workplace changes, you're just going to see a lot less or a lot more difference in the way people travel, where people are working from, when they're working for. And again, all these little changes do add up. And again, you just kind of have to be aware of the environment and the situation. And I think even though we may return to some resemblance of normal, it'll never quite be normal. And for this reason, or these reasons, which would be the COVID effect, and then just some of the shifting trends and, the development of the experience economy and how that's starting to trickle in, and how people are interacting with technology and their day-to-day lives as a result of, kind of these two worlds, just happening and being here in 2021, is the reasons why I think as a landlord or a property manager, whether you have a couple of properties or a couple hundred properties, you need to be looking at going digital. And if you're up towards a couple hundred, there's a very high probability that you've already gone digital. So, what I would say to the smaller landlords or individual landlords or property managers is, just because you have a smaller number of doors that you work with does not mean that you can't integrate with the technologies. Like, great things about some of the technologies and concepts that have developed over the last number of years is it's the accessibility. Whereas 10, 15 years ago, you may have actually not had that access to some of the technologies without paying, thousands of dollars a year, or, having, and this is even true today in some senses, having hundreds of properties you work with. So again, now's the time to go digital. Everybody's at a distance. Everybody's used to doing things digitally right now. People are ordering food digitally. We'll be back to Ubering. And so now's the time. And with that being said, how do you go digital? So I just think there's a couple of key items and a process that you can take to make sure that you find the right fit when you do decide to go digital. So the first one is understanding your needs. So first and foremost, as a landlord or a property manager, you are going to be, the one that's responsible for everything, right? So you want to make sure you find something that fits good for your needs and your requirements. If you have any sort of special use cases, you want to make sure that that technology will help and fit within your use cases. So you want to make sure, first and foremost, it's something that you're comfortable with and something that you feel that you can work within all your parameters. So really just understanding your business, your needs, and your use cases. The next item is going to be understanding the needs of your tenants. So if you have a building, for example, which has 100 units in it, or you have 5 or 6 individual properties, the use cases and the needs of your tenants and what would provide them the best experience and would make them happy, that's going to vary a little bit as well. So just understanding those two parameters will help in the next stage, which is going to be researching your available tools. So actually going out, looking at some of the different technologies here. So like at Tenantcube, we are in the process of building an end-to-end solution. Then you have certain solutions that are for niche situations or for certain elements. There's all kinds of different technologies out there with all sorts of different variables that should be considered. So the best thing is to really identify some that fall within your needs and your tenants' needs and start breaking it down from there. Now, we do this and some other organizations do as well, which is a trial period. So basically, play before you pay, right? So it is important to make sure that whatever you're going to be forking out your hard-earned money for, that it is going to be a good fit, right? So, just play around with it a little bit. In most situations, there's going to be some sort of free trial, or you get, again, like our case, you get a number of units free before you pay for anything. And then after that, it's the implementation, right? So that's going to actually be going forward, getting your account set up and actually using the service. So the technology is no good if you are not using it correctly, right? So what you'll want to do is whenever you do have your technology, go in, put all your properties in, upload your units, fill them out to the best of your ability, and that way you can utilize them appropriately. It's a lot easier to just go in, get it done, have your portfolio up in a secure cloud environment, and then utilize it in the ways that you intended to help provide that ultimate end experience for your tenants, to help make your life easier, to help reduce your time, and really just to make sure you have super accurate record keeping, and it'll just pay you dividends in the long run through, peace of mind and save time. And then the last one is get some feedback. So, at the end of the day, in experience first economy, we want to make sure that we're providing a good experience. So, ask your tenants, ask the ones that you're working with, and even ask your employees if you have them, what do you think of what we've implemented? What's working, what isn't? Because the last thing you want to do is put a process in place that, isn't having those desired results. So by doing a little bit of feedback, maybe from some of your, trusted tenants, and then maybe from some that, you don't really understand how they feel about what you were currently doing before, or you just, don't really have a great relationship with them, just try and get an assortment from some of your different tenants and, understand how their feelings are, so that you can either refine the process or, maybe if it's working very well, you may not need to even do that much revision. So that's the best way to go digital. And these are some steps that you can take in that digital process. So the three keys, in my opinion, to going digital are going to be broken up into a few different areas. So the first one is going to be onboarding, and then you have management and communication. So onboarding, I think, is more important than ever. Today, some of the results that we're seeing in different locations as a result of the pandemic is, we're seeing evictions being halted. We're seeing situations where landlord-tenant relationships are falling apart. And this is not all the time, for a lot of people, a lot of landlords and a lot of property managers, everything's moving very smoothly. But for the ones that it's not, they're really struggling right now, and they're going through a lot of hard times. And, this reminds me of a story from our founder of Tenantcube, Andrews Moses, and the reason why he founded Tenantcube. So when he was a brand new property manager, he had just had his first his first rental property available. And, the story goes that, if you've ever met Andrews, he's a very, very nice, caring guy. And a family had come through that, he just said at face value, this looks great. Young couple, they've got lots of money. Sure. You know what? Let's rent to them. And lo and behold, it wasn't too long before he found out that those people were selling drugs on the premises. There was continuously people there, continuously cops there. And then him as a landlord, which, again, the law varies from region to region, but given here in Ontario where we are, he was kind of handcuffed and he couldn't do a whole lot with the situation. So, months and months down the road and thousands of dollars later and all the headache and the lost night's sleep, all of those things that I'm sure you guys as property managers or landlords, when you've run into situations like that, the kind of struggles that you've had to overcome, I'm sure you can relate with. And this is what led him to create Tenantcube, was, really just to help protect everybody involved in the process. And this includes the landlords as well as the tenants, and just to make sure everything is smooth, easy, and reliable for everybody. And then I'll just give a little plug to our YouTube channel here. You can actually go watch that video by searching Tenantcube YouTube on YouTube, and what you'll find is the Why I Created Tenantcube video. It's a wonderful video explaining exactly that story that I just told. He tells it much better than I do, but also it will give you a better understanding of why we created Tenantcube and how it can help. Now, with respect to the onboarding, this is the first area, or the first time that somebody is going to, get to know you or get to know your organization, or, you as a landlord potentially. And what you want to be shooting for is to attract as many tenants as possible. Now, why would you want to do this? Why would you want to build up the number of applications? Well, this is just to work off the probability. So the more applications you get, and again, falling back to completely filling out your portfolio, the higher quality of applicants you will get. So if you've been very clear, you've provided high quality pictures, your listing is very easy to understand, and you've presented it in a way which people want to apply. If you now move it across multiple channels, now this is going to depend where you are. In some locations, Facebook Marketplace is predominant. In others, it's Craigslist. If you're here in certain parts of Canada, it's Kijiji. And what you want to do is really identify those top areas where your ideal tenants are going to be and list there. Now, also, this could include things like sharing your posts throughout social media and some of the different groups relative to your efforts. So you just want to track that large pool, and then you'll want to go ahead and start to verify them. So the verification process, one of the reasons I really like going digital here on the onboarding side is you're already engaging with them digitally. So they've come and they've said to you on Facebook, hey, I'd like to come check out your property. Great. Well, the next steps a lot of time is going to be have them in or come fill out an application. So whether they actually come to your premises and they actually take a look at the property and you then want them to apply, or you want them to apply first, which I'm seeing more of now due to COVID. Either way, you can now trigger this in a very easy way. So when you do it through Tenantcube, it's as easy as going ahead and actually just sending out an email or sending them a link. So when you want them to actually go ahead and start that application process, you can do it in a second, and then you can receive those applications back in no time. And then once we get those applications start coming back, the good thing about doing it digitally is all of those items that would normally come in a number of places. So somebody would send you back, like a pen and paper filled out application, and then you're trying to ask them to send you images, or you're using PDFs, and you've got items bouncing around left and right. You've got credit reports, and you've got pictures of driver's license, all of these different items. If you take that digital first approach, you can get them all in one neat little package. You just send out, hey, I'd like you to apply, and then you get back all of that. And then also you get it in a way which can be managed and compared against the other applicants. So again, you can more easily and accessibly manage more applications for your viewing, find the best fit or find the first fit that meets your criteria, depending on how you go about it, and then start to move them through the conversion. Now, on the conversion side, this is, again, something where you can go digital. So you can use a lot of times that information to digitally generate a lease. And many locations, you'll have a standardized lease, which can still actually be put up and be done digitally, and have them sign this, get it back, and then complete any other sort of items, whether that's securing that first payment, or verifying any other information. So again, onboarding can be fully digital and can not only help you attract more tenants, but verify and convert, the best possible ones from your pool of applicants. And then the next thing is the management side. So this is for the daily stuff. And this is where I think you're actually going to get a ton of value just in the operator side. So for things like payments, things like maintenance, and things like expenses. So all these actions a digital record is extremely easy to keep. So with everybody in their phones now, you can very easily just go ahead. You can take a picture if you have a receipt that needs to upload, or if there's a maintenance issue, a tenant can go ahead, snap a picture, and now it's right into a work order. And even with payments is another one. You can very easily go ahead and set up ongoing payments, or if you want to secure that first and last, they say, hey, I want to throw it on my credit card. By having those systems in place, it really helps just move things along, keeps everything neat and organized. And again, you can always go back and check those records when you're doing it digitally. You never have to worry about losing it. And then the third and final area is going to be in the communication side of things. So this is one that I think is becoming more and more important, right? So, I mean, there's certain levels of privacy that I think everybody has as an expectation for their own personal privacy. But when you start getting involved in property management, or you're a landlord, you quickly start to notice that that isn't always respected, right? So if you give, for example, your tenant a phone number, I'm sure a lot of landlords or property managers can relate. You may get that, text message at 3 o'clock in the morning. Oh, I heard a noise. Oh, okay. Well, there may not be a lot that can be done about that noise at 3 o'clock in the morning, but now you're up, you've been disturbed, and you can use these technologies to have a channel in which you can be contacted and alerted and notified very easily without necessarily giving out your direct or personal line. So there are a number of ways to go about this. And again, this falls back to researching the technology that works best for you, finding a match, and moving forward with it. And that'll work for other elements of communication as well. So whether it be document exchange, so, hey, I just had somebody the other day ask me, hey, I want my rent receipts. Very easily, you can just go ahead, you can access all the rent receipts that they have, and then just send them out via email in a matter of moments, right? So by keeping good information, by using the tools, and then, whenever a request is made, it's usually just a couple of clicks. Now, the final area where I think this really helps out is with third-party communication as well. So when something comes in, like work orders, for example, now traditionally, and a lot of people are still doing it this way, they'll get a call or a text message from one of their tenants and say, okay, this item's broken, I'd like to get it fixed. And then you start playing a little bit of phone tag as the almost like a middle person between your maintenance guy, between your tenant, and you're trying to do all the scheduling. And this can add up, especially if you're doing multiple units or you're working with a number of units, whereas very easily you can use some technology not only to make sure everybody is on the same page, but also to help ensure that the work is getting taken care of, that there's documentation that, okay, the problem was put in at this time, we worked on it at this day, it was completed, here's the before and after pictures, and all the receipts that were associated with the work that's done. You now have a digital log of everything that can be used should you ever need it for whatever reason. So the takeaways here is that not only is going digital making your life easier, it's providing a better experience on the back end on the end user experience, which is your tenants, and then just really bridging a lot of those gaps to provide a end-to-end digital experience, which is simple and easy for everybody to use. And to put it in perspective with respect to the onboarding, you'll be able to see how easy it was. I was describing it, and sometimes it can be a little hard to follow, but you'll see here, even if we have a listing in one of our Tenantcube portfolio items or portfolio properties, you simply just go ahead and from the details area, I can share a property and invite somebody to apply. So let's say, for example, somebody has come through my home and I would like them to apply. I'll simply grab their email and I've now invited them to apply. So that's easier than saying, hey, go to my website, try downloading this PDF, fill out the PDF, and then, attach your document, send it back to me, or mail it back to me, or however you're normally doing it. It's just as simple as an easy click. Now, on the management side of it, you can imagine once you start getting, 20, 30 applications come back in, which you'll get that many in some markets, you can very easily now just go navigate through and say, okay, I just sent Darren out a request to apply for our property. Now, this new application has come in, And all those items that normally would be in multiple places, you have, 30 or 40 files on your computer through the 10 applications that have come, some people's driver's license and all their personal documents that are coming through. You don't want that all over the place. So here, it's just very securely in one area. At any time, you can just go through. You can look at the items that they've provided. So like proof of income, driver's license, credit scores, and then just simply go through all their information that they've put through. So I'll leave it there. I hope this has helped to provide a better picture of how we can take a digital first approach with respect to our tenant and landlord dealings. And yeah, Madhu, I'll take a quick breath there. I know I've done a lot of talking, so I'll open it up. I think we had some questions come through during.
Yeah, thanks, Darren. Some great tips there and some great insights as well. So yeah, we do have a few questions. We'll take about 2 or 3 in this session, and we'll take the rest of it offline. So I will read them up to you one by one. So the first question we have is, for someone who still depends on files and folders and only using Microsoft Excel, how do you suggest we completely go digital?
Yeah, so I mean, the first thing I would recommend to completely go digital is to take the first steps and the most important steps. So in my opinion, you can break that up into 2 areas. First one's payments. I mean, payments, a number of ways you can go about going digital for them, but even something as simple as an e-transfer, very easy. It comes in, it's lightning fast, and there's no travel or no direct interaction. A lot of people are used to dealing in it this way now, and you can also even take it a step further and start going into items like automatic draws. So that way you just know on the 1st of every month it's coming in. You don't have to think about it. You just have to check later on. Hey, okay, great, it was in, everything's good to go. So that would be the first step that I would take. And then the next thing is the onboarding process. So I think one of the biggest factors or the biggest difference makers that going digital does is it allows us to help attract more tenants, and it helps us verify those tenants and really make the most out of the screening process by having more complete, more accessible, and easily comparable information. So what we can do is we can really utilize those tools to make sure that we're making the best decisions to help find the best fit with respect to the tenant, so that as we move forward, that relationship is a good one. It's an easy one to work with and easy to manage, which in the long run will help save time and effort and resources on all those other items that may come along later on. So those would be the first steps in going digital. And with respect to kind of completing it and going full cycle, I think once you've introduced payments and you've gone the onboarding, you'll have seen that there is quite the advantage to doing things digitally. So I think the rest would come naturally. But after that, then you'll start seeing things like work orders and services and a number of different ways in which you can, lead by a digitally digital approach. Yeah.
All right. The second question is, finding and placing a tenant feels much better to be done in person. How do we get digital about it?
Yeah, so that is the, to go digital about it, I mean, I think the best thing you can do is always remember that going digital doesn't mean taking away the personal. So, by nature, I think landlords and property managers are usually, people's people. So they like to be around people, they like to interact with people. At the end of the day, their job in essence really is about relationships, right? So having somebody in, or if you have elements of relationship building and you like that one-on-one, I don't think you should ever stop that. Now with COVID, of course, you have to take things a little bit differently and play a little bit of a safer hand. But when you go in for a viewing, for example, I think it's still very important to meet that person in person, to walk through, to make sure you're on the same page when it comes to, okay, they're going to be renting from me. Is this the type of person that I can see myself working with? Is this the type of person that I want in my home or in, my business partner, or whoever's home it may be if you're managing it. So there's a number of things to consider that I think you can really flesh a lot of those out by having that personal approach. But having that digital first mindset will help you improve that process, so that when somebody comes through your home, for example, instead of saying, okay, well, go to my website, and then from my website, download a PDF, fill out the PDF, mail it back to me. It's so much easier if you can just say, what's your email address? And then in their email, they click a button and it starts an application. That digital application comes right back into your folder or into your application manager with all the documents, everything you need to properly compare that applicant against other applicants. So yeah, I don't think you should necessarily cut out in-person showings, or if you take a really heavy emphasis on building relationships with your tenants, like that one-to-one every once in a while still goes a very long way and should not be dropped. But I think you can really put those two worlds together.
So final question, how do I get in touch with somebody at Tenantcube, and will you be able to give me a demonstration?
Yeah, so we do demonstrations all the time. All you have to do for that is you have to give us a shout. You can reach us by email, info@tenantcube.com. You can mail me, Darren, Darren, @tenantcube.com. You can reach our website, tenantcube.com, give us a shout. And then also as well, we also do on our YouTube channel video demonstrations of all the different ways that you can use Tenantcube. So for example, I show you how you can collect applications through Facebook Marketplace, or how you can add your properties for your first listings. So a number of ways that you can reach out to us. Just search us and there'll be lots of different ways in which you can find and get a hold of us.
Awesome. So thanks for your time, Darren. And that's it for today. Thank you all the participants for joining in. And if you have more questions, please write to us at info@tenantcube.com, and we'll be happy to help you out. Also, if you want us to cover any other topic that you have in mind, let us know and we'll try to cover it as well. So we hope to see you soon and with a different topic for landlords and property managers. Thank you.
Yes, thank you everybody for joining us. You have a great day. Take care.
Bye-bye.